Howdy folks, this is BelGeode, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is a test, otherwise known as one of my chill vids. Alright, I can't contain my excitement any longer. Yay! It's the Chinook! I know I usually have something to say ahead of time before I actually introduce the aircraft, but yeah, I've been waiting for this one, and I am so glad that it is finally here. But it's not perfect. It's a starting place, and I'm going to go over all of that as we get to it. But first, just check it out. Yay. Yay. It is the CH47D model, Delta model, the Chinook by Miltech. And it's every bit as awesome in VR as I hoped it would be. Wow. I just can't stop looking at it. Like, before I even pressed record, I've just been going around and around the bird, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? I should really press record and just get started on it. So, first off, apologies for the delay. Had some, let's say, family issues come up. Sad family issues. Had to bury an extended family member, so that required me to be away from home. Yeah, I know, me, the hermit, away from home, but it had to be done. So that also meant that I couldn't get any videos out in the last couple of weeks or so. So my apologies to you. But yeah, that is all in the past, and we're going to carry on. As you can no doubt see, we're in Jamaica. However, you probably don't recognize the airport. This is, in fact, the same airport that we landed at the last time you saw a video, which I believe would have been Valentine's Day. That was the cows, DA62, or was it 42? No, DA42, I think it was. This is Boscobel, aka Ian Fleming International Airport. Now, this particular airport is a freeware add-on that I got from flightsim.to. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I have it on my phone, but obviously I'll need to lift up the VR headset in order to see it. I want to say his name is Sadala Chibia. I'm probably butchering it. So if you're watching this video right now and you're like, what the heck, man? I'm so sorry. But I think it is Sadala Chibia. He's made quite a few of these airstrips, and we're going to be flying to one of them as our destination. One of my personal favorite places, Tinson Pen, down near or in Kingston. So yeah, it's going to be a short flight. I'm not going to do a lot of crazy stuff with the Chinook. I'm not going to show you all the features, but there are a few caveats that I need to get out of the way. First and foremost, this is considered an early access. What does early access mean? When anybody who's watching my channel who knows me from DCS already knows what an early access is. Basically, you're a paid beta tester is a good way of putting at it. It is your product, you own it. However, you understand that it is not polished yet. There are going to be some changes made to this helicopter. In particular, the flight model. That's the other thing that I want to bring up. So they actually recommend that you use the legacy flight model for this. Now, what does the legacy mean? Legacy means it's going to fly like FSX, because that's the legacy programming code, basically. So, what does that do for realism? I mean, I'm not going to say it's any less realistic. I'm not a real life Chinook pilot, so I can't pick it apart in that capacity and tell you, oh, well, you know, it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. To me, having done a test flight of it, it flies like a Chinook. It flies like how I would expect a Chinook to fly. Is it along the same lines as X-Plane 11's version, the X-Trident Chinook? I'm going to go with no, but by the same token, even X-Trident's beautiful Chinook is not 100% perfect. But for what it is, I think it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I think that they've done it justice, and I am really, really happy to see it finally in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, if Eagle Dynamics can only hurry up with their version for DCS, then I'll have a hook in every sim. Hey, hey. But all of those little disclaimers out of the way. Of course, the first time we saw this, the awesome YouTuber Two Tone Murphy was the one who was showing us the helicopter. I don't know how he particularly feels about the Chinook, but it's always been my favorite helicopter ever since I was a little kid. It came out before I was born. I want to say around 1962, thereabouts, and I was born in 1970, so that'll tell you how old I am. But this has been a bird that's like captured my imagination for a very long time. It's right up there with the Tomcat as far as favorite aircraft ever. So I am extremely impressed with what they've done here. And I know there was a little bit of drama prior to the release of this helicopter because there were certain things that the developer was doing to avoid any legal complications with the branding and everything. And one of the weird touches that they put in there was to make the rotors deliberately go backwards. Thankfully, they have recanted on that. So if you look at these rotor blades, this is the way they're supposed to look, and they do turn in the correct direction. So for those of you who don't know, the forward rotors are supposed to rotate counterclockwise, and the rear rotors are supposed to rotate clockwise. Thankfully, the developer changed that. They made it correct. That was probably one of the biggest bugbears that I had, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really buying the whole excuse about copywriting and branding. Basically, if you want to avoid copyright and branding, just don't call it a Chinook or don't mention the company that makes it. That should be sufficient. I don't think they're going to nick you on, the fact that you've got your rotor blades turning in the correct directions. But that's just me. I'm only going on experience that I've had with other flight sims and the other developers that have made Chinooks in the past. I don't recall them ever saying they had a problem with Boeing. All right, but all of that out of the way, all the disclaimers gone. I'm sure you are anxious to see how this thing flies. I'm going to say it's been a while since I've been in the X-Trident one, so I'm probably going to be rusty, but thankfully, Miltech did include an in-sim checklist. And I should also point out the fact that there are a couple of inconsistencies here and there. However, at the time of my recording this video, I do have confirmation that there's going to be an update out for this helicopter, either Sunday or Monday. I'm recording this on a Saturday, the Saturday before this video is going live. By the time this video goes live, the first update for this helicopter should already be out. But you need to know that I'm using the release version of the helicopter, the early access release version of this helicopter, which means whatever bugs I see are what are in the helicopter currently. But it does not reflect what you would get if you're watching this after the Monday where this airs. All right, I think that's all the disclaimers I needed. I really should take notes whenever I do these videos, but they're designed to be chill vids, so there's no script, there's no notes. It's whatever happens, happens, I'm not about to change it now. I'm getting too old for that. All right, but as is typical for me whenever we do these kinds of videos, the next portion of our video is to check out the external cameras. So of course we're in the drone cam here, and we're going to switch it to the external static. So our very first external static camera, I love this. I love this. Normally I have a camera that's like behind the bird a good bit, but I love the fact that it's right above the main rotor, so you can really see all the detail that they've put in these rotor blades here. It's really awesome. And check this out. We can also do our controls checks. So I'm doing cyclic left, cyclic right, cyclic aft, cyclic forward. I'm not sure how realistic that all is, but it's the Chinook, so the Chinook is known for breaking the boundaries, as it were, when it comes to helicopter design. And we can also check our pedals, so you'll see that when you use your pedals, the rotors go in opposite directions, which is neat. And then, of course, there is our thrust control. Well, I guess we could call it a collective, but I don't think that real life Chinook pilots actually call it a collective. I think they call it a thrust controller. So there it is. And that all works. And it works pretty much just like a collective. So that's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that. All right, next view. Next view is a side view of the helicopter here, so you can see if you're hooking something underneath. And yes, it does have the hooks, and from my understanding, yes, they do work. No, we are not going to test them today. The most I'm going to do is I'm going to put something in the actual cargo bay here. Next camera is the opposite side. So you'll notice we've got our door here, and the ramp is in the back, the ever popular ramp. And of course, there's a little hatch underneath and so on and so forth, but we can't see any of that from this side. And then we've got the BelGeode landing cam, or I guess I should call this the BelGeode hook cam. Would that be a better name for it? Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. So look at that hook. Ooh, that's shiny. That is shiny. I like it. Awesome stuff. Just awesome stuff. So we are in front of the forward hook. Now the hatch, hold on, I've actually got to turn around in my seat here. Thank goodness I'm in VR. The hatch should be a little bit further back near the second hook, if I'm not too mistaken. I don't know, it's been a while though. Maybe it's directly on top of me. All right, next view. So we have an exterior view, but it's inside the cabin. So if we have like troops sitting in here, you'll be able to see them. Now, I haven't tried using the drone camera controls inside of cockpit view to see if we can get back here, but I will try it out once we get in a cockpit. Just remind me, just holler at your PC or your phone or whatever it is you're watching this on. And then, of course, we've got the ramp view. The ramp is, of course, closed. We can open it up, and those of you who are not so familiar with the Chinook, there's actually two parts to this ramp. So you see the little upper part there that's kind of silver with the black stripes. That part slides in to the bottom piece here, and then the bottom piece is the part that actually swivels outward and downwards. And then, of course, you can see those little ramps to help you drive your vehicles on board if you happen to be taking any vehicles on board. And then, of course, there's this view, which Miltech, I'm not quite sure what you were trying to accomplish with this view here, but it's not working for me. Maybe you might want to change it. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. And we got another view at the back here. Not quite sure why we would particularly want this view, but I guess if you got like a back gunner or something, that might be cool. Spoiler alert, there's no guns on this, by the way. Just throwing that out there. This is not Armor 3, and it's not DCS, so you're not going to see any guns. And then, of course, we've got a nice view of the gear. I like this view because when you're coming in on approach, you can easily see what it looks like out there. And we're on the starboard side anyway, as you can tell from the nav light. Okay, so back to this view, and we're going to get in the cockpit and see if we can get this puppy started. All right, so welcome to the office. This is definitely a D model, a Delta model, so you can tell because everything is analog. It is not the updated glass cockpit one. This is old school. This is old school. Granted, it's not as old school as like Vietnam era. It's probably, if I had to guess, I would say probably like 70s, 80s vintage, maybe 90s. Although I think 90s is actually when they switched to the whole glass cockpit thing. But this is my favorite cockpit, is what I'm trying to get at here. This is the perfect layout. I love this stuff. This is awesome. And let's see if we can actually move around. So I'm going to go to the center. We're going to roll all the way to the back. It's a completely open cockpit. So yeah, we should be able to slide ourselves back here. Of course, there is a catch with that. I can't turn around. That is one of the big problems in virtual reality, is we're basically stuck facing forward if you're in cockpit view. There's no way to actually turn ourselves around. You can notice that I can push the left and right buttons, and here I go sliding from side to side. If I want to turn myself around, I have to physically do this. Ain't nobody got time for that. So let's head back up to the cockpit, shall we? But yeah, you can see they really knocked it out of the park as far as the texturing and everything on the interior of it. This looks like a Chinook. And granted, I've only ever been in a Chinook at an air show. But yeah, this is exactly what I remember it looking like, except it's a heck of a lot cleaner than the one I got to play around in. All right, so back in our seat. There we go. Now, let's cast our attention to this little guy right here before we actually start up. So this, of course, is the iPad that comes with it. And as you can see, it's got all of these nifty little doodads there. There's our disclaimer. You can pause the video and read that if you so desire. I should also say that as far as the flight model on this, remember what I told you at the beginning of the video? Well, we do know for a fact that Asobo is coming out with true tandem rotor support for helicopters. I don't know if it's going to lead into them doing their own tandem rotor helicopters, probably something for local legends, who knows, which means it'll probably be vintage. But once we have that, Miltech does plan on adopting that native scheme. So that's going to be a thing. That's something to look forward to. All right, but real quick. So we have a map available, which we can utilize. Now, it doesn't seem to reference like our actual flight plan or anything. I think it's just a map. But you can do stuff with it. So we can make north point up. And I forget what this does. We'll click it. Oh, that's satellite imagery. Okay, well, you know what? We'll leave it on that. And we'll zoom it in. Not so sure about the saturation and everything on it, but you know what? I'm not going to complain. Load. Now, this is where the fun begins. So we can actually tell it that we want to load various things. We can load pallets. We can load a Humvee. We can load troops, medevac, boat. And for the external loads, same thing. We can have the hooks utilized in order to load up various stuff, including stuff like a Bambi bucket. So if you want to do firefighting, that's going to be possible with this thing. Fuel, of course, pretty straightforward. I know we have enough. We're at about 50% fuel. We should be able to make it to Tinson Pen on that. If not, I'll take some shortcuts in the sky. Missions. Missions they plan on expanding. In fact, if you're a member of the Miltech Discord, which requires that you purchase at least one of their products, you can actually suggest to them what missions you would like to see in the future. So we've got rescue, we've got actual hoist missions, we've got military exercises, all kinds of good stuff. They really tried to think outside of the box. So instead of you having to purchase the helicopter and then another pack for missions and cargo, no, they put everything together. And that's why I think this helicopter is worth it. All right, doors. So we got the side door, we got the hatch for the hook, we got the ramps, we got the slide. I am actually going to open the top, and we're going to open the ramp, and we'll go outside. Look at that. That is so awesome. So you can see the top half slides into the bottom half there, and then the ramp itself comes down basically flat. So what we can do on top of that is we can go back to load, and we can put our Humvee in there. Oh, we don't want the external one. No, we want the internal one. I'm not doing any of those kind of ops today. Let's see what's going on outside. Okay. And look at that. Just like that. We've got a Humvee. The seats are all up. This is awesomeness. Look at this. It fits. Just barely. And you know the rule. If it fits, it sits. So, yeah, we're good to go. All right. I'm going to put ourselves over on this side. So that way we got a nice commanding view of the helo. And we'll hop back in. All right. So, now that we've got that done, we can close the door. So I'm going to close the ramp, and I guess we'll leave the top open. I want to say that should be the case. Yeah. So we got a little bit of air coming through there, you can see. And we can see our Humvee. Hopefully the Humvee won't slide through there. I don't think it will. I think that's skinny enough. It should be able to hold it in place. And we're going to put ourselves on this side because we're getting close to sunset and we might get some good pictures. So, all right. But I bet you are interested in how we start this puppy. So we're going to do that. As far as configurations, we can have a little handheld GPS and that will appear right here. Of course, it won't turn on until we actually get the power on. And altimeter is currently set to imperial, I think, and we can change that to metric. All right, so we're good to go on that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and we can disable this. If I ever want to bring it back up, I sure can. But let's see if we can get this puppy started, because I've been talking an awful lot, and we still haven't taken off yet. You know this when you watch my videos. All right, we're going to go through everything as quickly as I think I can. So, first off, the EEPS fan, make sure that they are closed. The EEPS fans are back here. This is this little panel right here. The vertical position right there means everything is closed, so both EEPS doors are closed and the EEPS themselves are off. So we'll go ahead and click that. External lights as required. Now the external lights should be... no, not this one. That's the internal lights. I think it's these. Yes, here they are. All right, so we've got formation lights that we can bump up. I'm actually going to turn those on. Anti-collision lights. Turn you on. Top anti-collision lights, position lights, and nav lights. There we go. So we'll keep all of that stuff on. That would be awesome. Okay, co-pilot lights as required. Nah. Compass switch as required. I think that's where it should be, but I forget where that is. So thankfully we can click on that and it'll tell you it's currently free. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly where I want it. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. Troop warning switch. Now I don't remember the explained version having that, but we can put that on for like 10 seconds there. And of course it's not going to do anything because there's no battery power to it, so I don't hear any sound. But that's fine. We're okay. Cabin temperature is okay. All electrical switches are off with the exception of the lighting, of course, because we had to have that on. Crossfeed is currently closed. Now the crossfeed is in the center here, and you can see if it's sticking straight out, that means the crossfeed is closed. We will want to have that open eventually, however. All fuel pump switches are off. Yes. Start switch is off. Yes. The start switch, by the way, is going to be in the center. There it is. Engine start switch. So we would go to the right for the right engine and left for the left engine. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Engine condition levers, make sure those are off. These are your engine condition levers here. So always make sure those are all the way back before you start your helicopter. And the NR switch should be at 100%. Let's see, the NR switch is here. That's basically our FADEC. So right now it's set to 97. I'm going to flip that to the up position. No, we want it here. So there we go. That's 100. Perfect. The pry and prev switch, make sure those are on pry. I believe they are. Yes, that's the operation switches here. Those are both on pry. Load share switch and the backup power switch, we want those. Backup power is currently off, and load share switch should be on torque, which is the bottom actually. Come on. Yeah, that's where it is. Okay, that's fine. Internal lighting as required. We'll worry about that after. Anti-ice switch is off. I believe it is. We can check that. That's curious. Why is it giving me that for the anti-ice switch? Okay, that must be one of those discrepancies that I was telling you about that should be fixed by the time you watch this. Hoist switch is right there. Make sure that's sticking straight out. That means it's off. We don't want our hoists on. Master hook switch, hook select switch. All of those should be off. That's all on this panel here. And yes, everything does appear to be off. Hydraulic power transfer switch. That is these guys here. Currently, they're in the off position. We're going to want to put those in the on position when we go to start up, which we will do momentarily. Hydraulic flight control switch. Make sure that's both. It is in the middle, which is exactly where it needs to be. So that is perfect. Fire pull handles are in. Yes, you can see those white things right there, which is exactly what we want. VGI switch to norm. I don't believe that is a VGI switch. Let me check that. Okay, it says it's down here. Is it down here? I don't know. Oh, it's right here. Duh. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. All right, norm. Perfect. Cyclic trim switch. Set that to auto. Now the cyclic trim switch should be over here. This is it. That's auto. AFCS, which is our autopilot, we're going to set that to off. And just so you're aware, if you're running the modern flight model like I am, I do believe it disables your autopilot. That's another reason why they tell you to go with Legacy for right now. So I can't get the autopilot to work, which is fine. I would much rather hand fly this thing anyway. All right, so we're done with that. Now comes the fun part. Before the sun sets, we're going to want to start this puppy. So, left main fuel pumps to on. And we're probably going to want to get the right main too. So, main pumps are here and here. I'm going to go ahead and get the rights on as well too. Cross feed switch to open. There we go. Bam. And now we are going to want to start the engine. So, engine condition lever 1, we're going to put you to ground. So, bam, that's ground. And then we are going to start. All right, so here's our start switch. We're going to go to the opposite side here. Wrong one. There we go. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. It started me in the middle of the page. I'm not going to get an engine start on anything because my APU is not even on. Wow. Okay, folks, make sure that you check your controls there because obviously you're going to have a little bit of a problem when it comes time to start this puppy. All right, so we did all the fuel pumps. I don't think it's going to mess with anything if we keep it off. But let's go ahead and get our battery on, which I have a switch for that. There we go. Battery is now on. And we're going to want the APU started. So let's go ahead and get that. Set that to start. Really should have done a caution and warning lights test. It's interesting that it put me in the middle of the page when I switched over. I thought I'd be at the top. Huh. Okay, APU should be on. Yes, it's currently in run, so we're going to get the generator switch on now. And that'll help us with this engine start. Yes, yes, yes. Hydraulic power transfer switch. Yeah, I thought something was wrong. We didn't do any of this stuff. Parking brake lever is set. Backup power, we're going to turn that on. There we go. Engine condition levers are both stops. The EEPS fans, turn both of those on. So they're kind of in between. So we got that one there and we have that one there. So both of those are on. I want to say the EEPS doors should be open as well too, but don't quote me on that. All right, now we get to the fuel. Now we get to the engine condition. And now we get to the start. So that, and I believe it was wrong one. That one. Little bit backwards there, but holy crap. At least she's starting, and as you can most plainly see, the front rotor is going counterclockwise, as it should. Whew. Alright, so, where were we? Tick. We're going to want the engine condition lever to flight and the generator to on. So we'll wait for everything to come up. Yep, that looks good. Set that to flight, and we'll go ahead and get generator on. And let's start number 2. We'll wait for 2 to come up. Check the temperature while we're at it. Make sure that everything's looking good. And I'm just going to check off all of this stuff while we're waiting here. Now that I know that we're on the correct portion of this page. Okay, pre-taxi. APU switch is going to go off, which is fine. Alright, set you to flight. Set you to on. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the APU gen off. And we'll go ahead and turn the APU itself off. So you can see we definitely have a thing for the EEPs, so we're going to want to open those doors there. 1 and 2. And those should go away. We only have 1 caution and warning on here, and that's because our parking brake is on. We can, at this point in time, go ahead and get all of our radios up. So let me see if I remember how to do that. Hold on, I'm trying to zoom in here. Okay. We got that. We'll set it to TARA. Nav volume. Marker beacon volume. Okay, I think those are already up. I'm basically just holding down my right mouse button here in order to get everything up and running. Alright, this, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea, so I'm just going to leave a lot of that stuff alone. But this we definitely want on. Set that to transmit, receive. And let's see, what about all this other stuff here? Transmit, receive. Yep. Okay, you know what? That's good enough for government work as far as I'm concerned. Alright, so we are pretty much good to go. The only other things that we will need to do is get our landing lights and everything on. So let me just check all of this stuff here. All fuel pump switches should be on. You're on. You're on. You're on. You're on. And I'll be honest with you folks, I don't remember if the cross feed is supposed to stay open throughout the entire flight. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and leave it open. We got some co-pilot lights here, pilot instrument lights here. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we've got a nighttime flight coming up here. Center console. All right, good to go. Good to go. I'm just checking everything really quick just to make sure that we are in the correct position here. Pilot searchlight. Is that our landing light? I would assume so. I don't know. We'll have to go outside to find out. But we're pretty much set to go at this point. So let's go outside really quick and check it out. Okay, now immediately you're going to notice that it was very, very stuttery outside. I want to assure you that is not VR, that is this helicopter, and the developer is aware of it. Apparently the rotor downwash, there is a problem with it. It pretty much just eats all of your FPS. However, by the time you watch this video, the patch that's coming out that I told you about should fix that. I hope. I'm just going to set these all to bright here. Okay, I think we're good. So let's get the parking brake off. And we should probably tell people that we're heading out. Yeah. Traffic. I believe runway 27 is what we're looking for, so we're just going to tell them we're departing straight out.
Bravo Sierra traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo, taking off runway 27 straight out departure.
Alright, now I'm actually going to pull the cyclic back. And see if that will help us turn around. Now, one very important thing that I'm neglecting here is our steering. So we are probably going to want to have this guy set all the way to the front. There we go. Now we can actually steer. We'll cyclic forward. And there we go. Look at that. Look at that. We can drive this school bus on the ground. And when we get tired of driving this school bus on the ground, we'll just take off. Alright, and since it took a while for us to get up and running, I am going to go to the outside view and get us out of here. Awesomeness. Okay, so it should be well past sunset by the time we get to Kingston, so I am going to set up our little GPS really quick here. The only thing that I notice is with this all the way down here, I haven't found a way yet to see if I can like plop it here where the iPad is. But what we can do, however, provided of course it'll let me. There we go. Alright. So even though we don't have the magenta line here, we can see where Kingston is, which is right over there. And that will help us navigate. So we're just going to go kind of nap of the earth here. I'm going to try and pull ourselves up a bit. And yeah. We'll try not to do anything too crazy because obviously we've got the Humvee in the back and I'm sure there's probably a couple of people back there just making sure that it's behaving itself. So, you know, we're going to behave. But yeah, currently the autopilot is set to both, which means technically it should be on. However, it's not working. Oh, and power steering is currently on, so we're going to want to fix that too. Go ahead and flip that switch back to the bottom position. There we go. So, of course, if you know anything about the Chinook, you know that the front gear is pretty much fixed. So it runs parallel with the body of the helicopter, and then the rear gear is where you get your steering from. So you could either have it free castering swivel, you could have it fixed like the front gear, or you can have it as what they call power steering. And technically, you use that little rotating tiller there to do your steering. You wouldn't necessarily use the pedals like I'm using right now. But that's a thing. I don't know if that's a Microsoft Flight Simulator thing, because if I remember correctly, I think the Explained version did the same kind of thing. So it might just be a flight sim thing in general. So it might not be 100% realistic, but I will leave it to the real-life Chinook pilots that are in the audience to chime in and correct me if needed. Alright, I want to get this switch off here. Can I get the switch off, please? There we go, that's what I want. That's our engine start switch, so it was still in start. Which technically is not good. Not a good idea. But yeah, overall, like I said, the flight model itself feels okay. It does remind me a lot of the FSX flight model, but then I never had a problem with the FSX flight model. I know a lot of people, once you hear FSX, immediately it's like, oh, that means it's, you know, bargain basement or whatever. No. FSX at the time was trying to push the envelope. So when you had people like Nimbus and what was the other one, Vertavia and whatever, coming out with helicopters like this, they were really trying to push the envelope as to what the flight sim could do. And then, of course, you had HTR, which was Helicopter Total Realism, which just amped everything up to about 10 notches and really made helicopters come alive. Now, in this day and age, we don't really need that, because obviously we want for this flight sim to get to the place where it will allow for developers to actually incorporate that stuff naturally into their helicopters. Asobo, I hate to say it, has always been a little behind the curve when it comes to that. And I say that because when this sim originally launched, even though when we had gone to Seattle we saw icons for helicopters and fighter jets and so on, you couldn't select them. It wasn't stuff that they either had ready back then or even anticipated was going to quote-unquote take off as it has. So they didn't really think that far ahead when it came to incorporating stuff like this. And a perfect example, I've told this story before, but you're familiar with India Fox Teco, Dino Cataneo, when he was coming out with one of his first birds, the Rutan Long EZ, another one of my personal favorites. When he originally came out with it, he had to use the basic flight model for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which anybody who flies a Cessna or something similar knows what that is. Your propeller's in the front, you got a wing right about midsection, you got the tailplane in the back. Well, as you know, the Rutan Long EZ is a canard. They did not have anything in the SDK to flight model a canard. So I actually spoke to some of the people I know at Microsoft and Asobo and basically kind of politely hounded them to see if they can add that to the flight model as an option for developers to use to incorporate into their works. And of course they did. And of course it delayed the release of the Rutan Long EZ for a little bit, but it was for the best. I hope Dino doesn't hate me or anything, but it was for the best. And now, of course, we have quite a few canard aircraft in the sim. Same thing has happened with fighter jets. Notice we didn't really get fighter jets in until like the Reno thing and the Top Gun thing. That's because the flight model didn't really incorporate that stuff until they added those modules. And then of course, helicopters, well, we all know the story on helicopters. We really didn't get helicopters until what, last year? So they're making leaps and bounds, and even though they're still working on getting Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 out the door for us at some point in time this year, and don't ask me when that's going to be because I have no clue. Nobody's told me anything. they do still have the plans of bringing some of the major features, some of the major updates to this sim 2020. For example, the whole tandem rotor thing. That's going to be coming soon. I know that they're working on Sim Update 15 right now. I do not know if tandem rotors are incorporated in Sim Update 15 or if it will be something in the next Sim Update. Unfortunately, I stopped doing the beta test because I just don't have time anymore. But if anybody is in the beta and can confirm that they're working on tandem rotors, then that would be awesome. Just chime in the comments if you're allowed to. Don't break like NDAs or anything like that. Alright, but that's enough of me yapping. I think our rotor downwash should have behaved itself since we are high enough up, so let's go back to the outside view. Let me let go of the controls here and see what she wants to do, because with the autopilot non-functional, I want to make sure we're also not going to flip over while we're flying over the Blue Mountains here. Alright folks, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I came back up here so I could do this. I love it. I love it. Oh, okay. We got a little bit of jiggle there. Alright, it seems to have corrected itself, which is fine by me. I like that though. That's awesome. Alright, let's get back to the cockpit because I need to remember I'm now flying in reverse. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's exactly why we're getting back into the cockpit. Okay then. Let's give it a little bit more thrust, shall we? We should be able to get over this. I'm not giving it 100% thrust, but I'm giving it enough that I think we should be able to get over this with great ease. While we're at it, we're going to zoom in a little bit so you can start to see the Kingston area there. And look at that. Tell me that is not a thing of beauty right there. Beautiful. So there are actually 2 points of interest that we could check out, but because this thing doesn't have the flight plan on there, it's not actually going to show it to me. And I'll be honest with you folks, I can't see this tiny thing from here. I can see the purple line, but I have no idea where we are in relationship to it. I'm assuming we're pointing directly towards it, but don't quote me on that. I do know this city very well though, so I know that where we're landing is off to that side. You can see the Palisades Peninsula there. And in the fat part of the peninsula, that's where Norman Manley International Airport is, Mike Kilo Juliet Papa. You can see on the end of the peninsula there is Port Royal, made famous by a lot of pirate captains. And of course, Pirates of the Caribbean movie is supposed to have taken place there in Port Royal. Let's just say they took a little bit of creative liberties because there's no mountains there. Excuse me, creative liberties, I should say. Alright, can I do anything with this? I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't think I can do anything with that. But suffice to say, we're going to start bringing her down a little bit. So, 2 of the places that we're looking for are King's House and also the stadium. Now the stadium, I kind of have an idea where that's going to be. That's going to be directly ahead. So you see that little rounded hill directly in front of it should be where the stadium is. And you can see the Mona Reservoir, which is that lake just off to the left side of the hill there. And I want to say this big, huge green patch coming up should be King's House, which no doubt, as you can imagine, is kind of similar to the White House. Same idea, basically. Or maybe this is it over here. I don't think it's this far back. Yeah, no, that doesn't look like it. I think that might be the Botanical Gardens. I want to say it's over this way. But what we can do is we can go to the outside view, back to the BelGeode landing cam, and kind of take a look. Just bear in mind that we're probably going to lose more FPS due to the issue that I told you about. Okay, so there we go. You got a really good look at the stadium, and hopefully you saw the King's House there, which is not for the actual king, it's more for like the Prime Minister. But we are getting close to Tinson Pen, so we're practically on base leg right now, so I'm going to go ahead and contact them and tell them we're coming in. Tinson Pen, select runway for landing. We want runway 32, full stop landing. And I suppose we should tell them we're on base. Yeah.
Mike Kilo Tango Papa traffic November 70 Alpha
Look at that
Golf
beautiful
Bravo
sunset.
is on base runway tree 2.
That beautiful sunset, though. That's so awesome. Wow. Times like this that I really do miss Jamaica. And this is our last leg for my little Jamaican journey here, so we're going to be going back to the other side of the world. In particular, we're going to go visit the Philippines before we head back to Papua New Guinea, because there's another brand new Philippine scenery that I would definitely love to show you. Alright, let's tell them we're on final. Oh, I gotta move the mouse for that.
Mike Kilo Tango Papa traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is on final runway tree 2 to land.
Okay, now comes the fun part. Let me see if we can do this from the outside to at least line ourselves up here. And that is just about it for all the outside views because it's going to rob my FPS again. So I'm going to stay indoors and we're going to bring her in. Now remember, my power steering is currently off, so the wheels should be fixed forward. Alright, how are we doing on airspeed here? We are just over about 60 knots. We'll just bring her in nice and easy. Nice and easy. So, what was that gentleman's name again? Sadala Chibia, I think, who created this Tinson Pen. And yeah, it looks a lot better than the original, let me just tell you. So kudos to you on that. It still doesn't look exactly as I remember it, but then let's face it, the last time I actually saw a Tinson Pen was in the very early 80s. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't look like this anymore. And also there's no tower frequency. I thought there was a tower for Tinson Pen. Unless I'm misremembering here. But either way, we're down. We're a little wobbly, but we're down. And we're going to find the taxiway and pull off. In the meantime, I'm going to set ourselves up here. There we go. Steering is on, and we're just going to turn in here. It's a beautiful sunset in beautiful Kingston, Jamaica. Tinson Pen in the Chinook. Really doesn't get any better than that. Couldn't ask for a better helicopter to round out the little Jamaica mini-series here. So I'm really hoping that you've enjoyed our little adventure here in Jamaica, brought to us by the latest world update that did the entire Caribbean. We will check out some other islands in the Caribbean at a later date, but of course Jamaica being so special to me, naturally I wanted to check this place out first. We're going to put it in a little compass rose here. I think technically that's supposed to be a helipad anyway, so right about here should do the trick. We'll line ourselves up and we'll bring ourselves to a stop. We can push forward a bit. Right there's good. Alright, brakes on. Perfect. Okay, so I sincerely hope you have enjoyed this. This has been BelGeode, and I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just to remind you, the helicopter that we have been showing off here is by Miltech, and this is the CH47D Chinook, my absolute favorite helicopter, military helicopter of all time. I think they've done it justice. I also think it is fairly obvious that there's going to be some work that they will need to do, in particular getting native tandem rotor support. But for right now, I gotta say, they really did knock it out of the park. As far as the modeling and the audio even sounds good. This looks and feels like a CH47. This is awesome. Thank you so much, Miltech. And remember folks, this is early access, so if you decide to purchase this, just be aware there may be bugs. Please feel free to join their Discord. I'll put the link in the video description below. And when you join the Discord, that way you can give them feedback. But you have to have purchased at least one of their products to get on their Discord, so keep that in mind. But I'd highly recommend you pick this bird up because as a fan of big helicopters myself, yeah, this one ticks all the boxes for me. It's so cool. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything off. So let's go ahead and do this. This. Oh, come on. Right, left. And I don't want you in flight. Why are you going to flight? Yeah, you need to go to that. Okay. Alright, I'll leave the power on because, of course, Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to do its thing. And as I switch it back to the door menu, I do want to remind you that Flight Sim Expo is coming. So, if you have not already registered for Flight Sim Expo, please feel free to do so. My link is in the video description below as well, so you can click on my link and it will take you to the registration site. I actually just booked my hotel. My hotel is going to be the Hotel Rio, or the Rio Hotel and Casino. This is where they're going to be having the expo this year. It is official. It is decided. Everything's good to go. Delta's got flight discounts. Americans got discounts, I think, as well. But I usually fly Delta, so, you know, it is what it is. But yes, if you have not already done so, please check out the link in the video description. That'll take you to Flight Sim Expo 2024's website, and I will see you there. Alrighty, folks, that's about all I brought for show and tell. So huge thank you to Sadala Chibia and your freeware airports. The links for that are in the video description below. And huge thank you to Miltech and this CH47. This is a great starting place, and I can't wait to see how this helicopter evolves. But that'll do it for me, so thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will talk to you all really soon. Alrighty, folks. Ciao.